Hello, welcome back to Nerds at Night. I'm Tolli,
And I'm nonLethal.
and we're delighted to have you back, mate. How have you been?
Oh yeah, it was a good time. I was off not being antisocial, you twat. I was off having some fun with some friends in New Zealand, throwing myself off high things, drinking lots of booze, and having fun. You remember what fun is, right?
No. But anyway, um, clearly you've listened to the last couple of episodes we had without you, with our guest nerd Scuzzy. And of course, it's good to have you back, mate. Some of us missed you. I don't know who they are, but I'm sure someone did.
I'm sure they're out there. Our listeners miss me.
That's right.
Alright, so what are we talking about this week?
All right, we alluded to this a while ago. We're going back to our roots in gaming because that's what we know and love. And we briefly touched on gaming culture and where it's come from and where it's going to.
That's right.
So, the Valhalla that it used to be and the merciless pit of hell and narcissism that it's become.
Yeah, it's kind of gotten ridiculous over the years. We've been fortunate enough to be in gaming for so long that we've seen the development of the gaming culture, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this conversation spurs and what comments and stuff we get.
True. We'll start off with retro gaming culture since you're our elderly expert in this category. I'm never going to let that go, mate.
Ah, you son of a. Yeah, so in my opinion, like when I first started gaming in what I call the retro gaming culture, there was always this sense of like awe and wonder with gaming where, you just got this new console, this like Master System 2 or the Commodore 64, and oh my god, gaming is so cool, and you invited your friends around, you had fun, or you went down to the local arcade, for those who remember what those are, and played games and threw your money in and see who could get a better score. And yeah, it was a good time to be a gamer. A good time.
I remember doing that back when I was quite a bit younger, very child-aged, and I had lots of friends with cool consoles, and I'd go over there and we'd sit down and we'd take in turns, like even single-player games, we'd sit there and take in turns playing those. It'd be like, oh, see if you can get through this level, oh, I can never do this bit, and we'd try and forge our way through the mercilessly difficult games that we had back then, and there was a real sense of cooperation even in games that weren't designed for co-op.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of my favorite times growing up. Is, as you said, taking a single player game and just trying to smash it out. If there was a bit that you couldn't do, you passed it on. And yeah, as you said, games were mercilessly difficult back then compared to these days, and it was a good time. As I said, a good time.
And conversely, we now have modern gaming culture where I get a new game, I go home and smash through it in a weekend, and then I go to work the next day and I say to everyone else, you all suck ass at this game because I clocked it in 4 hours.
Yeah, it's not exactly the best time to sort of be excited about gaming, as it were. Like, there's all these brand new shiny games coming out, and people are excited about these new IPs and new shiny graphics and new good mechanics and stuff and online components. But it's, as you said, if you can just get a game and smash it out and then shelve it for life and just complain about how it's too easy or everyone else is crap because they can't pass it, it's. I feel like it's taken something away from gaming.
Sorry, I just had all these flashbacks then. No, it's interesting what it's become now because I don't feel, especially in my circle of colleagues, acquaintances, and victims, that there isn't a lot of discussion around what the game was like, around the story, around the gameplay. It was just, for instance, I played through Watch Dogs recently, and I went to work and everyone saw me when I bought it, and I'm like, this is going to be awesome because Watch Dogs is hardcore and whatever. And come in the next day, and they're like, so how was it? And it's, I played it last night for about 4 hours, and yeah, it's just another GTA clone. It was alright.
Yeah, there's that sort of the expectations are very high with these new promises and stuff, and there are some exceptions out there, but for the most part, gaming is pretty stagnant. But that's perhaps getting slightly off topic about the stagnation of gaming.
That'll be another episode.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
The disappointing part of that was that the game has an interesting story, and it's a story I feel like as a gamer I relate to a little bit, and I feel for the main character, and it's got me invested. But I don't feel in the current culture that it's worth discussing. Whether I should say, oh, it must really hurt for Aiden what's happened, and I can really understand why he's doing this, and it's amazing the way he's got all this technology and he can hack CTOS and all this amazing stuff. Instead, I'm just like, GTA clone with a gimmick.
Yeah, it's a bit sad how people like skip over all the story elements and just like skip past quest text and all that kind of stuff and just get down to the nitty gritty of the gaming and just try and beat the game, and instead of getting immersed within the world and really getting to know the lore and the story and the backstory and the characters. And yeah, that's probably one of the big contributing factors to the downfall of gaming culture. Games are just numbers that need to be calculated and set aside and beaten instead of being something to immerse yourself in. And there are exceptions, as we've said, but for the most part, most gamers these days, I feel, just want to just clock games.
Yeah, in fairness, it does make the better games stand out even more. I mean, there are a few gems out there that are absolutely spectacular, and when you play through them, you put the controller down or you take your hands off the keyboard, you're just like, God damn, that was the greatest thing I've ever played in my entire life. But I think the worst thing about that is because there are so many games, I don't even have any friends that have played one of the gems that I've played recently. So I want to talk about the story and how interesting it was. But with the vast number of games, having someone in your circle who's even played the same game could be a rarity.
And that's true, yeah. And I suppose you can use an analogy like reading books. Like, you could have this fantastic novel that you've read and go, oh my god, that was the best thing I've ever read. But, if your friends aren't reading books or not reading the same books you are, then you're never going to be able to connect to them on that level.
Yeah, and if they've got a backlog of 150 books that they wanted to read that they think will be amazing, then even if you do recommend the book with the greatest of honours and it's a 6-star book, then it's still going to be number 151 on the pile.
Exactly, yeah.
Just like Mew.
So, yeah, just like Mew. So you were talking about in the previous episode how you went to like a gaming championship and the culture there was not ideal. Do you want to take us back through that briefly?
Well, it was very interesting because it was held across 2 venues, and one was at a small gaming cafe, so maybe 20 odd PCs, and 10 of them were set aside for the 5v5 Call of Duty tournament. And a lot of these guys were guys from the local community, and during the matches there, we all played, and there was a bit of trash talk, which is always good for competitive first-person shooters, but there, it was a great culture of when we beat someone or when someone beat us, it's like, well played, and you go up to someone and say your aim or that shot was incredible, how did you learn to do that, etc. And then we moved up to the finals where there were some guys from out of town, and I don't know what relevance that has to it, but that's the distinction I noticed, is once they beat us senseless and they absolutely mopped the floor with us, we went up to show these guys some respect. I know, like, you're going about this, how badly we got creamed and which of our mothers they engaged in intercourse with and whatnot, and it really soured the whole experience because there was a lot as players we could learn from them to better ourselves, and we wanted to go up and have a chat and get to know these guys, and it was just impossible because of the toxic air around it.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate how that's sort of become the norm in a lot of games these days, and you go into like your general chats on your online games and just in reviews on YouTube or whatever like that, and people are always saying, haha, you suck, and lol, learn to play, all that kind of stuff. It's instead of being about as what you would have imagined, I imagine you guys would have experienced within your group, instead of coming together with friends to play a game you enjoy, and instead of having a good competitive nature with the enemy team, it's, well, these guys are obviously terrible. We should tell them they're terrible, because clearly.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's something we'll touch on a little bit later in the show, is the difference in environment when you're playing physically in a room with or against someone, as opposed to playing online when you've got all the keyboard warriors who want to say, lol, L to play, nub, and stuff like that. It creates a very different environment, and I don't think that it necessarily should, and I don't understand why once you're behind a keyboard you want to just rage on and troll other people, even if they're on your own team.
Yeah, it's the being anonymous on the internet is a very powerful wall for people to hide behind and hurl insults at people, I feel.
That's true, and it's something that's toxic, and it's something that should really change because as gamers, we are a community, and we should try and stick together, especially when our art form of choice is under attack so often, and we'll try and avoid going into the politics of it all, I suppose. But we are under attack. We're under attack by publishers, by rating agencies, by import laws, and even sometimes by console makers. They're all trying to devalue the medium through which we try and get our entertainment. And while this is happening, we're all just fighting amongst each other because, oh my god, I can't believe you used flash heal instead of a long heal. You used friggin' nub. We all died.
Yeah, I can't believe you couldn't heal me through. I was standing in that fire. How dare you?
That's right. Have you ever healed before, you scrub? You're out of the guild.
Yeah, haha, my numbers are bigger than yours. I'm the DPS king, lol.
Reckon. Should be class leader. This guy should be kicked out.
Yeah, I think so. I think you should totally kick them out because they're nubs. Yeah, it's a bad thing. It's bad space.
That made me sick how true it is.
It is. It's very true, and it does make me sick. It's a terrible, terrible place to be, and it's one of the reasons I got out of a lot of sort of online gaming and competitive gaming. Is like I enjoyed the camaraderie of being with my team, but it was as that degraded into having lots of randoms or pugs, or depending on what game you're playing, it just, as you said, the only word you can use to describe it is toxic, and it just took away a high level of enjoyment you get from gaming.
Yeah, especially in cooperative gaming where you are a team of 2 or 4 or 25 or 40 and you're working together purely because it is the only way or the funnest way to overcome a particular challenge. And you get that rush when 4 people are working together, being online or on the couch, to try and beat something that's been kicking your ass for the last hour. And when you finally beat it, you're high-fiving your mates, and you're like, yeah, take that, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's a good feeling to have.
That's a great thing, but it doesn't seem to happen. And I'll take Diablo as an example, because I think that's something a lot of gamers have experienced one way or another, is that even people in a 4-player Diablo game, be it online pug or whatever, you've always got a couple of people who'll just run ahead as fast as they can, and this will probably split our audience down the middle, where you've got some people who'll defend the 2 guys running ahead and saying, well, everyone else shouldn't be so goddamn slow picking up loot and filling with their skills and all that. These guys are just trying to get through the content today. And the people saying, oh yeah, I'm trying to pick up loot and upgrade my gear so I can help more, and these guys just keep launching ahead and I can't even catch up.
Yeah, it's definitely a very polarizing effect, as you said, and there's pros and cons to either side, and it's really something which, as part of the culture, can be addressed. Like, in that sort of instance, it would be ideal if at the start of the game you say, this is a rush map, or, we'll take our time, or whatever, and it's even easier if you're playing cooperative with at least one friend, either in person or just over a Skype call like this, and with a few pugs. It's just to get together and agree on how things are going, but these days, yeah, it's hard to sort of get that point across.
Yeah, well, it's the tiniest amount of communication could possibly solve this. Is to be like a rush. New players will find this difficult, and then me, as someone who's never gone through this map before, I can sit down and be like, oh, these guys are going to fly through, but I really want to listen to the story bits. I'll go and find another game. No worries. Thanks for the group, gentlemen.
Yeah,
problem solved.
Exactly. Like, I really want to sit back and watch all the cutscenes as they happen instead of skipping them. I really should go into a different game, or I really, really want to rush through this game, but I've never done this map before. Just type into chat saying, okay to rush, but never done this map. Any advice?
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and I mean, there can often be language barriers as well, which we won't go into too much. But I mean, most gamers speak a modicum of English, just enough for us to get across the point that bit of a noob at this map, or I'm going to fly through it. Be ready, or perhaps find a game more suited to your playstyle.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And I know that's something you and I did when the Diablo expansion came out. You and I wanted to rush through to get through the content because we wanted to experience it, but we didn't want to skip cutscenes. And we both had pretty much, we're on the exact same page of how we wanted to play through that content. And because of that, we could team up and we could get through it even quicker as a team. But we also didn't skip the parts that were really of interest to us.
Yeah, that's right. We still got to watch a lot of the lore. We didn't get everything. We got that on a further playthrough, but we got through the content as quickly as possible to experience it all in one big sitting, and then we could take it apart slowly over time.
And meanwhile, I had a friend who wanted to start from the very, very beginning, so Act 1, and play through the entire story as a new character, and wanted to listen to all of the lore across all of the chapters again. And it was pretty easy decision to say, well, perhaps you should run through with us because we're going to be flying through a lot of stuff and we'll skip a few of the menial things. Then perhaps once we're all through the story, then we'll team up and play the game after that once we're all sitting at the same level. And it saves arguments or people feeling disappointed or anything like that. And it's a really simple thing to do. And I don't understand, like, that's easy enough with friends, all right? You can turn around and you say, hey, nonLethal, I really want to see this cutscene coming up. Shut up for a second so I can listen to this. And then you can say, shut up, you're talking over it. And then we can bicker for 3 seconds until we both shut up. And that's fine amongst friends. And I don't see why that's so difficult to do with a stranger online.
Yeah, as you said, there are perhaps some language barriers and stuff, and there are age differences and culture differences within gamers, but I agree completely. It shouldn't be so hard to get what you want out of your gaming experience, like presented to your fellow gamers, like in a cooperative sense. Like in a Diablo sense, there's only you and 3 other people tops within a game. It shouldn't be so hard to say, this is what I want from this game.
Correct. And then for people to either have the common sense or the decency to drop out of a game that's not going to suit their play style, because sometimes you get people who come into a game, 3 people say we're rushing this, and then some other guy will turn around and say, no, we're doing a slow run through and we're only killing these 2 bosses. Which I don't understand where people get this sense of arrogance from. I mean, it could almost be a slightly democratic system. If you're clearly outnumbered in terms of what players in this game are going to do, then why are you trying to bring people around forcibly to your position?
And I suppose it could be part of the, maybe online is the problem. Like when you're online, yes, there are other people, but you don't really sort of perhaps see them as such. They're just people there to help you with your gaming experience, with your goals, and some people sort of may find it hard to let go of that arrogance, as you said, because they're out for themselves and they want what they want out of their game, not really thinking that it's not their game, it's everyone's game, and if their goals don't align, then they should find a game that does. And Diablo did started doing an okay job with it by having, when you select a new game, you have like the type of game. It's going to be monster slaying or questing or whatever, or rifting, but it can go more than that, I feel.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's people coming into an online game and seeing the other players as nothing more than slightly more intelligent NPCs there for their amusement. And that's, I think, a really sad state of affairs, because it's possible for there to be a bigger community. And I mean, these do exist. There are games out there where people are working as a community, even if it's only within guilds. And there are really flourishing online communities, and I just don't understand why there's not more of it, at least perhaps in mainstream gaming.
Yeah, and that's where, like, as I mentioned in a previous episode, the type of game that I'm really enjoying now is a small-scale cooperative game. Like, back in the day, we had our World of Warcraft, and you had your big, massive guild, and you took 40 people through vanilla, and that was a great achievement, getting that camaraderie and getting together. But now with the introduction of pugs and looking for raid and stuff, it sort of diluted that experience. But with these new games like your Diablos and your Titanfalls and stuff that are small scale, I feel it's a lot easier to get just a few real life friends or even close gaming friends together and just having a good environment and a good culture for gaming.
Definitely. And I think that's facilitated with a small resurgence in LAN gaming. Just instead of being huge, massive 300 people LAN parties and everyone gets on DC and leeches off each other all day and then occasionally plays a game, just having a small group, just clearing out your lounge room or your garage and setting up 6 desks and having your mates come over with a few beers each and just sitting down and being like, all right, what's everyone want to play? Oh, I want to play Left 4 Dead. And it's like, all right, let's smash that for half an hour and then we'll do something else. And that really facilitates a better gaming culture. And I don't know whether it's because after you have a couple of drinks in you, you're a bit more palatable as a human being to actually not be a dick, or whether everyone's sitting in the same room, you're more likely to get along because the likelihood of getting slapped in the face if you're a little bitch is significantly higher.
Well, I suppose it's a little bit of both, I guess, but in my experiences with landing, and I don't do it as often as I would like, but it does happen much more than some of my other gaming friends. Like, there's also, you get to experience so much more with your friends who you've grown up gaming with, like using Left 4 Dead as an example, when you're on the infected and they're on the survivors, and you're playing as a hunter and you get a really good pounce onto them, you just break out. Exactly, you break out in a massive cackle, and a lot of the time, unless you're using like dedicated voice chat, they won't hear that, and you can just like stare them in the eyes and die, you fool.
That's absolute gold. I was such a hankering for Left 4 Dead right now.
We should have a LAN.
but that's the beauty of it, is you all sit in the same room, and even if you're playing something competitive or cooperative, or in the case of that, both, because you're like, oh god, get him off, get him off, get him off. That's what you want, where you're competing against each other and it's just fun, and then afterwards you beat the level and then you stop and talk about it and be like, oh, I got you good, and it's like, oh, so you're that guy who's on my back raping me and all that, and it promotes a really fun, entertaining type of game, but it also convinces you to try games that you might not have otherwise tried, and help you have fun with those games. It'll help you learn them without playing the god-awful boring tutorial. And I think it helps you get to know your mates a little bit better in some ways as well. I know a LAN I attended with you, I was somehow convinced to get into Civilization 5. And that was interesting because it's a type of game I'd never played before, but playing it with people who've been playing it for a long time and play it really well, it was a good way for me to get some really pro tips within the first 5 minutes on how to play it well, and to play it with all you guys and just completely troll you guys with armies of archers because I didn't know how to play that well.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a perfect example of it. Every time we go to a LAN, you always pick up a few new games. Like, one person wants to try, hey guys, we should try out this one game or this other game, and you can dive right into it. And like when I first started playing Dota, I didn't give it the time of day. It wasn't really my thing, and I only really exclusively play it at LANs. But we had like one or two friends who were deep into Dota and dedicated like hundreds of hours to it, and we'd start off playing against bots, just like one or two matches, just to give us a few pro tips, and then we could just jump straight into online gaming as a team. And yeah, it's really great to like pick up new games from your friends' recommendations and be able to jump straight into it and have a great time.
Yeah, and I don't understand why, and I mean, obviously having to lug around a PC is a pretty high barrier to entry, but I don't understand why these don't happen more often, because I think it creates the type of gaming culture that we all want to see, and it's something that we do take online. I know, for instance, if I were to be at a LAN with you and we jumped on Diablo, you and me, and, two randoms from the internet, we would probably be far more friendly players because we're sitting there in the same room having a couple of drinks, having some laughs, and we just tell these guys, hey, we're at a LAN, this is how we're thinking of playing this map, what do you reckon? And just go through and have some laughs, and just, especially in open world games where just the most random things can happen and set you off in hilarity. And that's the point of games, is to have fun.
Absolutely, you've really, really said it well there. Like, it's the point of gaming is to have fun, not to just like defeat a game. And I feel like LANs, as you've mentioned, is the type of gaming culture that I love and have missed from real massive multiplayer online gaming, and it's the type of culture that I'd love to take online. So, and as you said, LANs can be difficult for some people who have giant 40 kilo machines full of liquid cooling. Tolli. But
I know nothing.
But it is a situation that should arise more often, and as computers get better and parts get smaller, maybe it'll be easier. But then monitors get bigger, and it sort of goes one way and comes down from the other. But anyway, but LANs are the type of place where I love to get together with friends and play. Like, we still game purely online from our own homes with our friends, but it doesn't happen that often. But when you get together, you can dedicate a whole day and a whole night just to like having fun doing the things that you grew up with your friends, and that is the culture that I love about gaming.
Yeah, and you just made me think there of something like Guitar Hero is probably the last time it was really well highlighted of what can happen when you get a few friends over. So not necessarily a LAN, but a couch gaming session where you and three mates are over, you're all having a couple of beers, and you just make complete asses of yourself trying to do, through fire and flames on expert. And even that, even in that tiny little environment with just you and three mates or more, if you're happy to swap around controllers, it makes for a great night. And you go home and you wake up the next morning and you're hungover and you're like, did I get 98% on fire and flames? And it gives you a really good memory of enjoyment where even if you were swapping controls, even if three of you were just sitting there laughing while the other guy was trying to beat a level or get through a song or something like that, it means that you don't all even have to necessarily be playing the game for multiple people to get enjoyment out of a good gaming culture.
And you're right, you bring up an interesting point where we've sort of almost exclusively been talking about PC gaming and like LANing with PCs, but consoles in a way do facilitate their own method of LAN gaming, where you could have someone who's got the new PS4 and you come over and everyone grabs a controller and plays a game, or like you can go back old school and play like the original Mario parties and stuff, which I loved doing, and your Guitar Heroes and Rock Bands and all those sorts of games really encouraged you to get together with friends and do stupid things. Like when the Wii Move, or whatever it was called, first came out, and you're like jumping and flailing your arms around doing Dance Dance Karaoke Revolution or whatever it was called. It was, yeah, those were good times, and those were effectively LAN gaming, but just without the immediate PC LAN. It was still getting together with friends and having a good time.
I think you've come up with the best idea ever then of like a retro gaming night where you set up like an old Super Nintendo and a Commodore 64 and you try and just between the three or four of you try and get through one of those retro games without just massively rage quitting because it's kicking your ass.
Original Mario Kart, Superstar Soccer 64, all those sorts of games.
Oh, that'd be heaven.
We should make this happen, make it so.
This is Nerds at Night retro gaming community coming up in the next month or two when we figure it out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Excellent.
If any of our listeners are keen to get involved, let us know.
That's right. Get them on Facebook and Twitter, which we'll pimp out a little bit later on. And yeah, but this is what we should do. And I mean, this is certainly something that can come out of Nerds at Night to create a community that has the gaming culture that we all want to see. We don't accept people who come in and say, "Oh my God, you'll suck so hard at Dota if you can't do this." We don't accept these people. That isn't to say that we ostracize them and ban them from our communities and all that, but we just don't accept that type of attitude. And I think if less and less people accept it as an attitude that we allow to exist within our community, then it's something that can be slowly stamped out as better attitudes come in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, as you said, instead of banning the person, you ban the attitude. You ban that negative connotation. And it's perfectly acceptable. It's like training a dog. You train out the bad habits, and in this case, you encourage the people with good attitudes to play, and you discourage the people with bad attitudes from having a good time with their bad attitude. You encourage them to have a good time with the good attitude.
Well, that's right. And GTA 5 Online has tried to do this the wrong way, I think, where if you're on a server and you start griefing people, you just start shooting everyone in the face, then you wind up in the naughty server where all the other naughty players go, and you're stuck in there just griefing each other. And I think it's possibly one of the worst ways to handle it, because I don't think these people are learning that attitude isn't acceptable in online gaming, where you're ruining someone else's experience on purpose instead of just having a laugh. And you're just putting them with other people where they can all get together and either find better ways to propagate this attitude, or they're all just griefing each other. It's like you've got two dogs that bite a lot. Oh no, we'll put them in the cage together so they can bite each other. That'll learn them.
Yeah, it's a very fair point. Like, in that instance, you can see how the players who are playing good or well together will continue to play well together because they don't have those griefers. But you're absolutely right in that it's not a punishment to put griefers with other griefers, because then they get griefed back and they go, oh, I'm going to grief this guy even better. And it just becomes a spiral into, like, destruction of what they're trying to achieve in a good gaming culture.
Yeah, so I think definitely banning the attitude is the way to go. And I mean, it may come down the track where in the future of Nerds at Night, we might set up some community servers for something like Minecraft, or some dedicated servers for the few games that have them, something like that. And that would be something that we would promote in such an online community, that let's have good attitudes, let's have constructive feedback. And we'll probably say this for another episode, but in terms of the console wars, I'm a PlayStation guy. I've always had PlayStations. I'm not particularly fond of the Xbox. I think it's got some faults. I recognise PlayStations have some faults, but I don't just necessarily hate on people who say, "Oh, I love the Xbox because it's got Forza." I get that. That's fine. Forza's probably a good game. I wouldn't know. I've never played it, but we can have that disagreement. Say, for instance, you were an Xbox person. I'd be like, "Oh, nonLethal, you freaking noob. You got an Xbox, terrible platform. You should get a PlayStation." But that doesn't promote a good gaming culture between us as friends or in the community as a whole. I can just be like, "Oh, dude, you've got Forza. Can I come over and we'll play that? Because I haven't played it before. It'll be the bomb."
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of having that negative attitude, you can have, like, instead of a lack of respect, have complete respect. Oh, you're a PlayStation guy and I'm an Xbox guy. Cool. We both love to game. We just have different ways that we like to go about gaming. Why don't you come over and I'll show you why I love the Xbox so much? We'll come play Forza and it'll be the frickin' bomb.
Yeah, it even has a financial component to it. If you are one of these 14, 15-year-old kids and your parents say you can have one console and one only, and you're a chump and pick the Wii U or something, or you pick the PlayStation when you really want to play the latest Halo, well, if you've got a buddy who chose an Xbox and you want to play Halo and he wants to play the latest God of War, then work together with that. Go over to his place and together you'll play through Halo, and you can play a level each, or you can swap controls and somebody dies, and you can talk about the game and what's hilarious and all that. And then he can come over and play God of War. And you can play through God of War and be like, "Oh, if I was Kratos, I'd totally rip that guy's head off." And you can have a ball, considering you both just saved $500 buying a brand new console, and you can play you can beat these goddamn publishers who do exclusivity deals and play all the games you want to play at essentially half the price.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Instead of trying to fulfill all of your desires yourself, go out there and be social and meet people and hang out with your friends and have a great time. There's nothing stopping you.
That's right. Get involved with the group of gamers that you might have traditionally hated on because they chose the crap console. Talk to these guys, get involved, be their friends, play their consoles, let them play your consoles, share the games amongst each other, and just try and build a better community. And I'll give one last anecdote before I finally get off this, is that me and a friend of mine, we purchased Half-Life to the orange box, I think it was, and neither of us had ever played through Half-Life 2. So we sat down there in front of the PC and it's like, we both want to play this, we both want to give it a go, but playing on our own just a bit tedious and we didn't have a lot of time. So whenever we were together, load up the game, and we just had a stopwatch, and every 5 minutes we'd swap players. And that is the greatest memory I have in gaming, because doing something like going through Ravenholm, we decided to set a challenge for ourselves. We could only use the shotgun, and you had to try and get the most hilarious deaths with the zombies. So try and kill them when they're jumping between roofs so they drop between the cracks, and we laughed our asses off for hours just with the different things we could do with the engine, trying to get antlions to attack different guards and stuff. And it was a single player game. It's a game that most people play on their own and be like, "Yeah, that was alright." But we made it so much more by playing it cooperatively.
Yeah, you've focused on what you love about like gaming and what you have in common with other gamers instead of just making it about yourself. And as you said, it was a single player game, but it's so much more than that because gaming is for gamers, not for an individual gamer.
That's right, and just to belabor the point, that is the bottom line. We're a community. We're all friends. We all love the exact same thing, and that thing is gaming. All right, I don't like Halo. I wouldn't go over to a friend's place and necessarily play it because I take some issues with the gameplay and things like that. That doesn't mean if you play Halo, I hate you. You're a top bloke. You have Forza. I want to play Forza. I don't want to buy an Xbox. Let's play that.
Let's make it happen.
That's right, and I just it's something we need to create together, and I think we can do it. I believe in us. We can do the thing.
Yep, we can do the thing and win the points. Now we can start this off, between us even, and show people what sort of a good, fun gaming culture can be. Like maybe we should play a game together and stream it or something.
I think that's something we can definitely do, and I know a game that you and I have played recently but had a bit of a hiatus of is Titanfall. And I think we can lead by example here, and give us some feedback about this on the Facebook page if you've got any ideas or comments or suggestions, where we will sit down for a period of time, we'll figure it out later, and we'll play through Titanfall and we'll show how entertaining it can be. Like you can still have, oh my god, that guy shot me in the face, you goddamn bastard, but you can still have fun and be respectful. So you can sit there and you can cuss them out in the privacy of your own home, and then you can type something, good shot, man. And I think that's something we can show by example in the next few weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, because we've had a hiatus from Titanfall, it'll be really exciting to get back into it. They've got like the new DLC out, which I haven't played yet, so we can review that. And hopefully get together with some good gamers online and just have a great time.
That's right. We can find more people who can come into the Nerds at Night community and help propagate this good attitude. I know I haven't played the new DLC either because I'm a bit of a slack bastard like that. So I think that's something we'll form over the next couple of weeks. And as I said, get on social media, give us the feedback about what you think about these games you might like to see us play or how you'd like to see us execute this sort of idea. And I think we'll have Nerds at Night Twitch/YouTube edition.
Yeah, absolutely. Look forward to it.
Sounds pretty exciting to me, and obviously it'll be nice to see in the YouTube comments how people react to this kind of gaming. We'll do this, and we will actually read the comments, unlike a lot of YouTubers, and respond. And it'll be really good to get some community feedback about what people think that we're doing and how we can go about it in the future. And if we come across these attitudes, we can just say that is not the gaming attitude that we should all have, and that is not an attitude that we'll accept. We accept you as a player, as a gamer, maybe even as a great gamer if you're really good at Titanfall and we happen to suck.
Which we do.
That's fine. you can be a part of the community, definitely. We accept all gamers, we accept even non-gamers, but we don't accept that attitude.
Yeah, that's a great way to go about it, I think. It'll be great to see the comments, because we're not the best Titanfall players, but we have fun doing it, so any negative comments it'll give us a chance to respond to them and explain how we're trying to revive the gaming culture, and, it'll be great to see the encouragement as well, if there is any.
Yeah, that's right, and we'll put up the warning. It will probably be quite expletive laden, unlike our child-friendly show that we do here.
Yes, it'll be very, very expletive laden.
I think it'll help demonstrate the point where you can still have that competitive nature, where you can be like, goddamn noob just stood on me with a friggin' Titan, but not have that be toxic. It's not that we all have to be friendly. Oh, by Jove, good shot, old chap. You can still have the trash talk without being toxic about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's okay to be angry but still be respectful. If someone gets a really good shot, you're like, oh man, that guy just got me from the other side of the map. What a freaking great shot. How did I not get him?
Yeah, and that'll be great. So I think that's something we'll do in the next couple of weeks. We'll keep everyone updated on Twitter and Facebook and all that sort of shenanigan that I should one day get involved with. Anyway, moving on, next topic. I think that's where we'll leave the show today. We're extending the playtime of the show a little bit because we're finding we've got a bit more to talk about, and we're really excited about starting to get some community feedback now that we're getting on in episodes and we're moving up in topics. So as always, subscribe on iTunes. The links are kicking around on social media, and we'd be excited to get some reviews and some rate us 2 or 3 or 10 stars or whatever, and try and give us a bit of feedback about how the show's going and anything you think we could do to improve it.
Yeah, any suggestions for topics, or if you want to join the community, if you have any suggestions for games, if you want to join us in a gaming session one night, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. So get on the Facebook, which can be found at, over to you, nonLethal.
Nerds at Night Community. It's all one word, facebook.com/nerds at night community.
And Twitter over at ?
Twitter at Nerds at Night as well. We're trying to keep a theme here, as you can see. But
Yes.
yeah,
We're not trying to create a brand or anything.
no, not at all. But also get on our YouTube, youtube.com/nerds at night, surprisingly, where we'll tweet out when we're going to be doing this recording, and we'll let people know so they can see us play Titanfall.
Definitely, and it's something where if you want to get involved, if you want to be one of the nerds at night and you want to get on and do some gaming with us, or perhaps if you even want to be a guest on the show and share some of your opinions, hit us up on Facebook, hit us up on Twitter. We want to hear from you. We want to have you on the show. We want to shoot you in the face on Titanfall. Get involved.
All these things are things we want to do, yeah. So hit us up on the social media, tell your friends, tell your parents, tell your grandparents, listen to the show, and yeah, until next time, I am nonLethal.
And I'm Tolli. Thanks for listening.